Hello and welcome to this brand new web series called The Why of Teaching. My name is Joanne Wright, Pinellas County's 2014 Teacher of the Year and the proud host of The Why of Teaching. We're going to be hitting on some hot topics with our teachers and offering solutions from teachers in the field. You'll also see some teaching strategies and processes happening as we strive for 100% student success in Pinellas County. If you're not an educator, this is a great opportunity to see what's on teachers' minds and what's happening in our classrooms. Sit back and enjoy the show, The Why of Teaching. Welcome back. Tonight we have the pleasure of taking part in a roundtable discussion alongside some former Pinellas County District Teachers of the Year. We will begin the show with a trip down memory lane as our educators reflect on the year they won. Our hot topic, however, centers on something a lot of teachers are struggling with today, striving for that work-life balance. Let's go to our roundtable discussion to gather some insights on how our educators strive to achieve this. Welcome to our roundtable discussion. We're going to begin by introducing our participants. To my right, we have Ms. Pam Moore, our Associate Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
Thank you, and I'm thrilled to be here today. I am the 1984, probably the oldest on this panel, Teacher of the Year for Pinellas County Schools. Proud to be here.
And to her right, we have Ms. Bridget Bonet. She's a middle school math teacher.
Thank you for having me. I'm the 2009 Teacher of the Year.
And to my left over here, we have Kevin Ford, and he is from high school. He's a band director.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, and I was the 2014 Teacher of the Year.
And to my left, we have Ms. Kim Lopez, and she is an elementary school teacher.
Thank you very much. I am honored to be here. I am currently the 2015 Teacher of the Year.
And so the topic that we'd like to begin with today, and actually, Bridget, I will begin by asking you, what did it mean to you to represent Pinellas County School as the District Teacher of the Year? Can you share your reflections upon that year with us?
Certainly. It was an interesting year that year. We were merging, so we were expanding our population, going from 500 students at our school to 800, so there was a lot going on in the background during that school year. And so when it was announced, it really wasn't anything that came into reality right away. And so of course you carried on your business and you did what you normally do. And I'm very fortunate to work with an excellent group of teachers that collaborate constantly. So when the award came through, I felt like it was an award for our entire school, not just me. And so that was definitely a bonus for our entire faculty because I do work with an amazing group of people.
Thanks. How about you, Ms. Moore?
Well, as I said before, I am the oldest member of this distinguished panel, but I would say in 1984 the competition was quite different. It included administrators. It included, happened to be a reading specialist at that time, a job that no longer exists, but pre-coach days, and of course classroom teachers. And they had not thought of the wonderful idea of telling you in front of your students, which I just think is absolutely fabulous. But it was a large auditorium, and they just call your name out, and it was an absolutely wonderful day. But I would also say that, and I'm sure my colleagues here would share, the honor of representing the workforce for Pinellas County Schools is something that I will treasure as a memory forever. It represents a lot of hard work of not just the individual who's singled out that time, but of the workforce that happens every single day.
I agree. It definitely brings to light just recognition for teachers. To me, it was a beautiful community bonding moment as well, to really see the community come together and just elevate the teaching profession. What an honor just to be the face that represents that. How did you feel, Kevin?
I was actually very reluctant to get involved in it to begin with, just because I didn't want to that attention, you know, on me individually. But when it was explained to me that this is really a recognition of all teachers and the positive things that are going on in our school and in our community, and it was an opportunity for us to highlight all of our teachers, and especially my colleagues that I teach with, because I work with an all-star cast. So it was an opportunity for us to be able to expose what we were doing and maybe explain a little bit more about the importance of the performing arts and how that can help children in all aspects of their life. So from that perspective, it was certainly something that I was proud to be a part of, and it was very humbling. And as Pam said, it was an honor to represent all teachers, because in that position you were exposed to more teachers and you're able to see what more people were doing outside of your school and in your school. Then you realized what a special thing that was and what an honor it was, because for me I always felt inferior, to be honest with you, to the people that were around me and what they were doing, and I was just amazed. And it was certainly humbling to go around the state and see what other people were doing, and it was inspiring too, to get back and apply that to my own teaching.
How do you feel, Kim?
Well, I have to agree with each and every one of them. This year has been special not only for me but for my school. I too was reluctant to even fill out the application, but my principal did encourage me and say, this isn't about you. This is about every one of the teachers that are at Melrose Elementary giving their 110% every day. And so, and they see that I'm not perfect. The best thing is I make mistakes. And my classroom is not a model classroom. And they see that when things don't go right, that I'm constantly looking for ways to improve. So I've worked with the young teachers, I've taken on an intern, and it's been a great year so far.
I think also just reflecting on our personal growth, I would obviously agree with everything that you said, and Kevin, I like how you spoke to it just being a feather in your cap to really advocate for your profession. I felt like it was an opportunity for me to fill that space that others saw me in. It was very nerve-wracking, to be honest. I feel far from perfect. I look around me and I'm continually trying to learn from everybody else around me, and just to even entertain the idea that I was up there on that level with teachers that I'd worked alongside and seen. Blew my mind, and I still thought they've made this mistake. They confused the fan favorite with the teacher of the year. This is going to look terrible in our district. And now we just have to name her the teacher of the year because that's what we said. I think my true growing experience came after I became the teacher of the year.
Absolutely.
I think it was big shoes to fill.
Like you're saying is that it raises you to that level where nobody's perfect and nobody does this profession 100% all of the time, and you're always striving to find the next best strategy or what's going to work for your kids, and every classroom is different, but now you've got the opportunity to work with the best of the best. And so by going out and seeing different teachers in different classrooms really elevated my teaching, because you got to be exposed to what works in classrooms. And you're right, not every classroom everything works, so you have to find out what works for you.
When we all went through the process of meeting people at the state level in this process, you're in awe, just as you said, of just saying the company you keep. But it is a wonderful platform to advocate for this profession, this worthy profession that we all chose because we want to inspire, we want to make a difference, but you can make a difference in a lot of different ways.
When I did the state portion of that, we were able to speak to the Commissioner of Education.
Yes.
And the people that were in charge of the VAM scores and all the things that we're currently challenged with at the moment. And it presented that opportunity for me to represent not just my own views and opinions, but my colleagues' views and opinions, and discuss those things and discuss those challenges. And what I learned is sometimes you feel like they're putting this on you. But I learned these are really good people, and their heart is in the right place. Where I think we struggle sometimes is the implementation. And us being, you know, in a collaborative environment and in a collaborative situation, it allows us to maybe tailor that to a way that maybe could be better for all of us. And I think sometimes this particular platform allowed me the opportunity to speak to them about my feelings on that, my colleagues' feelings, what we were struggling at that time. VAM was a big issue with that, and it provided me the opportunity to talk about how that could negatively impact teachers who are really succeeding at a high level and with students. Because if you start just putting everybody's scores together, and then it's gonna discourage some people from working with maybe people who are struggling. And I think that's the opposite of what we want. We want our teachers who are highly effective to work with those and not be afraid of that. So I think we have to have a system that encourages that, not discourages that. And this provided me that opportunity to speak to the commissioner about that. And I still actually, we're having conversations with him continually about that. So at least for that, I felt, whether ultimately makes a difference or not, I felt like at that time that our voices were heard in that. And I believe sincerely that they accepted that, and we're trying to make some positive changes towards that.
One of the most fabulous things that even this many years later for me, that you're still in contact with those same, you know, excellent educators, and when something comes up or they find a new, you know, tech concept, they'll shoot an email out to all of us in that group email, and it's, you know, it's so nice to know that you've got, you know, all those people behind you, so it's not just you and your school, it's the entire state of Florida that's working together to make education better. So what a powerful movement.
Well, stay tuned, because coming up next, we're going to talk about work-life balance and how our panel of teachers strive to attain that.
When they come in, they know that there's an expectation there that we have built a family atmosphere. And, you know, in the beginning of the year, we set norms. What should you, you know, and expectations of how they should treat each other. And after a while, they just start saying, well, yeah, that's my avid brother, or that's my avid cousin, because they're in 8th grade. They know that they can rely on you as well, and that will help with their learning. My choice, my Pinellas County Schools.
Love is for me is being able to provide a good quality environment for them when they come through the lunchroom. Love is listening to their laughter, sometimes their tears. And when you do your job with love, you never know whose heart you're gonna touch. My choice, my Pinellas County Schools.
The unique thing about education and our jobs specifically is that we invest so much of ourselves into bettering our students and into the success of our schools. That in turn makes it really difficult to shut off. So how can you speak to that when it comes to our teachers in the district?
How we shut off work and live our lives?
Just how we manage to navigate when we're on and when we're pouring into our students and pouring into our work, and when we are focusing on our families and our life outside of work.
Well, after 36 years, I'm not sure I have any answers, but I can attest to the fact that there's many teachers that carry their bags home, leave them in the car, and worry about it all day, or all weekend. So what I've started doing is carrying a smaller bag. I can carry it, true, whatever fits in the bag, I can do. Family is important, and as a teacher, you don't want to lose those priorities in your life. So I raised 3 kids. I always made time for my family, but the smaller bag really helped.
Good tip. I didn't try that, and people who know me well would say I would be the last person to give advice about this topic, because I think teachers as a profession are so passionate about what they do that it is very hard to turn that on and turn that off and walk out the door, because you're never free from that responsibility. But we all have lives. And we all love our work, but I think if I could give a tip, it is that we remember that it is work and that we have a responsibility to our family as well. And making time for yourself and your family, sometimes they say as an administrator, I'd have to schedule that, actually put it on a calendar to do that. I find myself having to do that now because we all want what's right for everyone, but we have to practice that. You know, but we decide. So like Stephen Covey says, we carry our own weather, we decide what choices we make, and we have to live with those choices. And so keeping that positive outlook is what got me through.
Absolutely, and I think Pam said it best, that you have to not only make time for your family, but you have to especially to make time for yourself. And so, and if you don't do that, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be as effective as you could be possibly in the classroom. I think it's hard too when you're raising a family and like you said, juggling all of those balls. But I think it's interesting too because technology now offers the availability to check our email anytime we want. And so you have to be really careful to not get caught up in that, you know, because you want to be responding to your parents. You want to make sure that your kids are doing the right homework, and it takes everything I have to put that phone away and not look at it once I get home. And so you really have to put that time out for you and say, I'm home now. You know, if you are going to bring homework, this is the time allotment I'm going to work on it, and then not look at it. Because like you said, even when you bring that smaller bag home, there are always ways to find other things to do. You know, you can always research, there's always that. So you really have to make a conscious effort of saying this time's for me, this time's for my family, and make that a priority.
And I think it's important for everybody to realize that I think everyone struggles with this. Whether you're a teacher or you're a CEO or you're a pediatrician, whatever it may be, I think we all struggle with that because especially if you're excellence driven and you care a lot and deeply for the people that you're affecting, to which I feel like we all do. And you know, every child has its own story, and those stories, you know, make up, they're in my mind and my heart, and you want to see how you can affect them. But I do think it's important that if you are excellent driven, that you are in every aspect of your life. And when you go home, it has to become about your family, and it has to become about you being a father or a mother, or a sister or a brother, or a son or daughter, and then how best can you do that at that time, because that's going to allow you to be free when you're at work or when you're doing that. And certainly there's times, if you're a performing arts teacher, you spend as much time after school as you do during school. You know, and for us and my family, it's balancing that schedule and setting. For my own children, we always have, if we go through 3 weeks at a time where we'll go 6 days a week, you know, that we have a target point where either we're going to go to Disney that day, or we're going to go to a movie this day, or we're going to go to the park. But you know, we cross that off, so we make that event a big deal with our children, so they know that this is the most important thing to us, is to get us to this day. But we want to make sure that we get there the right way, and we continue to affect people, and we don't miss a day, and we show them that, and sometimes it's sharing that thing in your mind with them, and asking their opinion of, you know, I'm struggling with this. To my wife. My wife is a great sounding board and a far better educator than I am. And oftentimes I can ask her and she'll offer me a perspective, and we can share that with our 16 and our 10-year-old, you know, in their terms, so they feel like they're helping us with that particular situation. Or, you know, we'd like you to come in and give this person a hug, you know, whatever it may be, you know, with our 10-year-old, because within our program, you know, it's a big family, so we spend our weekends with them, sometimes more than their parents spend with them. So, you know, if somebody's struggling, we try to make that a family affair. But I definitely think it's important that we all realize as professionals that in whatever and wherever we are, we have to be our best at it, and you can't be absent at home.
Add on too is that we kind of described that we have support systems with our families, and thank goodness that we do. But I think that's also true at work, is seeking out those support systems that keep you uplifted as well, and share your your common core values and that quest for being the best at what we do. And those support systems help us come to work every day and help us be the best mother, father, or whatever role that is that we know that we are all striving for the same thing.
I will tell you, within my department, and I've said this, I mean, we are a very high-functioning math department, and we're all too many chiefs, not enough Indians. And so we all had to kind of sit back and say, all right, I'm creating these really good lessons, but let me pass them over to you, and you take a look and see what you can make better. And now, after so many years, the fabulous thing is that I can depend, and one of my colleagues can say, oh, I did this lesson on ratios, and I don't even have to think. I don't have to go back, create my own lesson. Now I trust, and that's probably the hardest thing to break through, is that you do have to say, okay, let's work together as a team, let's divide and conquer, so that you're not spending all that time working in isolation. So I will tell you, I'm in love with the Smart Notebook, and anybody who knows me knows that I do the STIP training during the summer and all the technology. And so I just think it engages your kids, it allows them to definitely make more meaning to the concepts and to the curriculum. It's them learning, not you instructing. And so it's definitely, for me, it's much more empowering to use that form, that vehicle, to get a curriculum that's not always easy. I love math to death, but it's not everybody's favorite, and I forget that sometimes. And so not everybody's as passionate about that as I am. And so by engaging your students, they definitely become more passionate about it.
Any final thoughts before we close out our section?
I think just what I think we've all highlighted is we're all struggling with different things. It doesn't, whether you're a first-year teacher or 36 years into it, I think we all feel like I'm my 22nd year, and I feel like I'm just getting going. You know, you're just trying to figure it out. And I think it's important that everybody knows that. But I think if you're a driven person and you want to be great at what you're doing, you'll go through difficult times because you're putting that pressure on yourself. But that's not a negative pressure, because on the outside of that, the harder you work, you may be changing somebody's life forever. And I think when the times get difficult and it's tough, that's where your mindset has to be. You know, why am I doing? Go back to the why you're doing what you're doing. And that's really, I think, for all of us to impact young people's lives, so that they can live a better life, or help them through whatever challenge they're getting through, because their potential is, in my opinion, is limitless. I mean, they can do anything if we empower them to do it. And sometimes we're the spark, you know, that's going to ignite that passion for that for them. So I think that part of it, when you're going through difficult times, go back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And do I have balance? You know, and because whether I'm one-sided or the other, it never works out. You know, just create that balance for each of us, I think will help us be successful.
Yes, very
I concur.
well said. And I think that compelling why is so important for teachers to plant right here all the time, because it's a step we often miss, is that adults get it, but it has to be relevant for kids, and they have to own that in the process, but it also relates to us as adults. We have to know, you know, we're living in a time of great change nationally. This isn't just about in the state of Florida or just about in Pinellas County. The requirements of these standards that our students are engaging and interacting with require them to do things that they've not had to do before. And we as adults have to release that responsibility, but we have to understand the compelling why as well. So I think the new mantra for us is, how do we know? How to ask ourselves continuously as educators, regardless of the age level you work with or the job, your coworkers, how do we know? That takes us right back to that accountability piece, because we want everybody walking not on the same path, because we all took different paths to get where we're going, but our outcome is, we want the same outcome for kids, and we are dedicated to that.
I think it's really healthy to learn that we have 5 district teachers of the year, sitting in this room and we're all professing that this is a struggle.
And we're not perfect.
This is difficult to try and strive for a work-life balance. And I think the central message is that remember your why, and to really zone in on your passion and to master a few things done really, really well. Because I think there is a lot of danger in taking a snapshot of Kevin, you, and just your moment of glory, and Kim, just to see what you're capable of, and likewise, and to mesh that together into this one vision, and then to try and continually strive for that, I think is very unhealthy. I think that we really need to self-reflect and set healthy expectations for ourselves as teachers. And then we need to really dig our heels in, let the why of teaching drive us, and to pursue that with passion. So, well, stay tuned. We'll be right back with the why of teaching.
I demonstrate innovation within my classroom by allowing kids to explore, to really get them using their own brain and me just guiding the way. I'm hoping that others see that my students are becoming independent learners, and with me bringing different innovative strategies into my classroom, I'm really pushing students forward. My choice, my Pinellas County Schools.
Engagement is important in our schools, in my opinion, for so many different reasons. Number one, if every child is engaged, they're going to be learning in some manner. Number two, if every child is engaged, they're going to feel valued in some way. If students are engaged, they're starting to build an independence with themselves and for themselves, and they're building a confidence in themselves. If students are engaged, they're building collaboration and a culture in the classroom. Engagement to me is a beginning for so many possible ends for those students that are so important, not only to student achievement, but to who they are and who they develop into being. My choice, my Pinellas County Schools.
Welcome to Knowing is Growing. This section asks teachers to share a snippet of a strategy or process they use in their classrooms. These processes and lessons are not endorsed by the district. Instead, they're meant to be inspirational and motivational pieces to share what's happening in other classrooms across our wonderful district. Let's take a glimpse inside a few classrooms to see some strategies and processes that are working for others and might inspire and motivate you.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Greco. I'm a high school math teacher. I flipped out my calculus class. Come on in and I'll tell you about it. A flipped classroom is where the students get the notes at home instead of in a traditional classroom setting. I use YouTube as my channel to the students at home. So they get the notes online and then they come in the next day and we do the math work together. They all sit in little groups and they can all work on the math individually, and if they need help, I'm there to help them.
I think it's helpful to me because I learn more from it. I personally like doing work with groups because they can explain it to me when I don't understand something, and I can help them out as well.
What I've seen in results are definitely higher scores. Definitely they are understanding it more. They can remember it later on, whereas before sometimes kids memorize so much before the test and then they take the test and then all that information's gone. I'm seeing, when I get to chapter 2 or chapter 3, I can pull back a concept from chapter 1 and they remember it. They actually learned it. It's not just about memorizing it and moving on. They actually know it.
We take notes on it at home and we come in and we're able to get our work done. And also at home, we have as much time as we want to learn the lesson, and if we didn't understand something, we can go back, rewind the video, and try to clarify it.
So a flipped classroom is a great alternative to the traditional classroom. Your classroom will come to life. Students own their learning now. They actually are in charge of it. They will manage how much they're learning, how fast they're learning, or at what pace they're learning. So it's really fun to see the students take control over that and help each other out. It's really nice to see the students helping each other out if I'm not able to get to that group and help them.
Hi, my name is Juliana Mione, and I'm a first grade teacher, and I'm here to show you how I do my rotations in my classroom. For our rotations, we are an L300 school, so we have to make sure that we get our guided reading groups in for the first hour of the school day, and so we have to make sure that that time is used wisely and efficiently. So I'm making sure that the students are able to identify their letters and sounds, that they are able to read and write their sight words, and moving through to their book levels to make sure that we get them up to grade level or push them past to where, they need to be. When the students are on the computers for this rotation, they are on iStation, which is helping them to progress with their reading skills. They're learning their letters and sounds, and it evaluates them on what they know. They get an assessment at the beginning of every month. I have to be very consistent at the beginning of the year, making sure that they know how I expect them to be sitting in their chair when they're at their centers, how I expect their voice levels to be when they're sitting doing their centers, how I expect them to be when they're at computers, just so that they know that this is time for learning and it's not time to be socializing or playing. I use the smartboard to help the kids get a visual clue of what's going on and where they're supposed to be and how long they have left. Time is kind of not an easy concept for them. On the smartboard, I have the different centers written up there, writing, word work, independent reading, and what they're supposed to be doing for that day next to it. We need to make sure that the students know the process and expectations for every part of rotations and every center, even as far as how do we sit in a chair, where do we go for our pencils, where is our writing paper, where do I sit at my computer, do I talk to my neighbors, do I not talk to my neighbors. It's very explicit so that I don't have to be pulled to explain, to intervene with them. They can help each other out. First, they can problem solve with each other to make sure that our time is efficient and not wasted during small group time.
Thanks for joining us. I hope you benefited from tuning in. We'll be covering more hot topics requested by our teachers in the Why of Teaching series. If you want more information about the videos that you've seen in this show, you can log on to newsroom.pcsb.org. If you'd like to suggest a topic or share a strategy, you can email the Strategic Communications Department at news@pcsb.org. It's been a pleasure being your host this evening. Have a great night, and as Nelson Mandela said, remember, a life without passion is a life not worth living.